A big hello and a very warm welcome to Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. As you can see, we're not in the studio. We are coming to you from GoaFest 2025. Some call it the Mecca of creativity. And because they call it that, I have with me the most creative men of the Indian advertising industry. Today, we're going to have a no-holds-barred conversation about the creative landscape, the state of the advertising industry. Are we mapping the glorious map of India in terms of the economy or not? And, everything in between. There's no set script. We're going to have a conversation with all the heavyweights that sit on the right and left. Unfortunately, they're only men, but that, I guess, is the state of the industry. On that note, thank you so much, gentlemen, to join me right here. All your names will be on an aston, so I don't need to introduce you to the audience. Anyway, these men don't need an introduction. I'm going to set open the stage by asking the question. Most of you cumulatively would be 200 years of experience in advertising?
Without Senthil, like 100, otherwise 300.
So, given the experience that surrounds me today, what is the state of the creative industry? Are we on the right path? There's so much happening. There's so many jargons. There's so much data, tech, AI. Very confusing. So to open it, who wants to take it?
PG?
PG, the youngest. The youngest.
I think we are overall in a good place. Very scary, very exciting times seeing the tech and AI disruption that's happening all around. It's very real. We're in the middle of it. And I think that at this point in time ought to be the right headline for all of us. This is the scary, exciting part overall. I think if we were to meet this time next year, we'd hopefully be able to talk a lot more about how AI is overall, how we've been able to adapt to that change and come out of it a whole lot stronger. But that to me is definitely the headline at this point in time. Everything else that we do collectively as an industry, of course, we've been taking the right steps over there. But this is a fundamental disruption in a way that's much larger than a medium level one, which was what the, let's say, digital revolution in advertising was, because this is not limited to advertising in particular.
What technology does disrupt, AI is going to disrupt everything. Advertising is not immune to that, right? But the way I see it, I think what will get disrupted is the everyday work that happens, right? Stuff that needs to get done cheaper, faster, or the cheapest and the fastest will get automated. But the stuff that calls for high level of thinking, high level of ideation, high level of expression will become even more valuable than ever before. The bad news is that's about 1% of all the people that work in the business.
Right.
So, Nali, we'd spoken about this, I think, even 2 years back.
You're right.
Right? So, again, GoaFest, CEO Lounge, we talked about the same thing. And I think the fundamental of what I'd spoken about at that time, I don't think that's changed in a very big way. I still think, and I proselytize it in the agency also, that AI, any part of it, right? Whether it's agentic, generative, data, whatever, it's a great tool of productivity. I don't think it's a tool of creativity, because creativity comes from choices that you make. It still can't make you make choices on your behalf.
So my question was the state of the creative industry, but I found it amazing that everybody started talking about AI. That's not my question. How is the creative business? How is the agency? Are you the young boy? So now please take it. The creative business, the creative agency business.
I'll tell you. It's disastrous. And I think I agree with some of the stuff PG said, Bobby said. Bobby talked about the future. PG talked about the scary but tremendous amount of opportunities because of the tech and the kind of platforms and therefore the media that we have. Opportunities to reach the audience. What is disastrous is that one of the things is that Google and
its peers.
Meta have become the top dollar earners because of their tech hold, their data hold and their algorithms and all that. So that's one. The other thing that happens is that things are needed cheaper and faster. That I think is what I'm calling disastrous. Remember, we used to say that out of the three things you can choose two: good, fast, and cheap. You can choose only two, right? If it is good and fast, it'll be expensive. If it's cheap and fast, it won't be good, right? But now everything is needed cheap and fast, and expectations are that they should be good, right? So that's one part. The other part that I spoke about in the panel also, which is that, uh, that is the exciting part. That beyond the advertising industry, right? There is this whole influencer community that is now coming up with their own creativity, right from villages to in different fields, as you know, right from medicine to fashion to yesterday I saw plumber coming up with such fantastic reels, right? So huge amount of creative force is going to come from
There.
these places, but that's going to happen in the near future. But currently, the current advertising industry, there is confusion, and this confusion on one part in terms of what all is happening that we are not being able to keep pace with, and the other is that everything becoming cheaper and faster.
But why is there this need suddenly to become cheaper and faster? There were always products, there were always brands to be built, there were always things to be moved in the market. Why is there a sudden need for people, for companies, for agencies to deliver faster, cheaper, better?
Yeah, so I'll tell you what, because the clients, some clients are more experienced, better brand teams, more of a legacy, but overall clients feel that they are not able to distinguish between good, great brand building work and quick,
Performance.
quick performance marketing. Now everything is being kind of swept with one brush. What some of the big brands realize that to build the brand, you need to spend money, you need to get good ideas, and you need to spend money crafting them correctly. And those you can see that happening. Some of the brands even that you handle, right? Some of the brands do that.
So I agree. I think it's a right now, I feel it's a visual pollution everywhere in the social media because of cheap and fast. I think all client thing because of the AI is funnily is so cheap and fast as possible. I can do it. And what happened is like they nowadays going to the online and find image, video and sending it to the agency. They say if I can do it in 2 minutes, why can't you do it? And sometimes we laugh because recently I did an experiment. I met a client, 5 clients, the same big 5 brands, and I briefed the exactly same thing to them and say use AI, chat GPT, and do the campaign. And I'm the client, you go to be the agency. Funny part is all 5 brands come up with the same visual and same copy. And I realized this is how bad the new media is. How you going to use it? So mediocre people are going to be
Rule the
destroyed.
world.
No, they're going to be done. They won't do anything because it's like a chat GPT access for everyone. People who know how to use this new medium and staying up to date, they're going to charge premium. And I think the change, the big triangle, the early days, the technology was the top and mass was the down. Today is the people who understand what's wrong, right, going to be the top center, the top of the triangle, and the technology going to be mass because AI is going to be 100 AI companies going to be launched. And I think the biggest fear is this whole AI world going to take over the big four company also in the next few years because they're going to create a new other company who can be better than Google. It is going to happen. That is the prediction.
I think we need to abandon this woe me attitude in advertising. It's technology this hadn't disrupted advertising. It started with the entertainment industry. Previously, in the entertainment industry was in the hands of the studios and the TV
Yeah.
and this thing. The advent of the the intelligent mobile phone with these high tech cameras changed everything.
Sure.
The people from any nook and corner in the world can now become content creators, and they have an audience of millions, if not billions, thanks to platforms like YouTube and Insta, TikTok, and all of that, right? Why were you to think that advertising is going to be sort of immune to all of that, right? As things have gotten cheaper and faster, for the content industry, that's bound to happen to this thing. And AI is just another step in the thing. It's a tool, it's a very lethal tool.
I think brands or branding, as we all know, it's like falling in love with somebody or having a relationship with somebody. Whether I see that person on Instagram or whether that person comes and tells me a 3 minute long story, right? That affinity will have to be there. There are so many examples on Instagram now in this where good design has also gotten democratized, which I really like.
Yeah.
I like the fact that good design or understanding of design, typography, craft has also become democratized. So on Instagram, there are so many brands that are coming up only on Instagram. Look at Two Brothers, right? Now, Two Brothers is performance marketing on one level because every ad of theirs you click shop now.
Right.
But consistency of messaging, graphic design, typography, branding, tonality, they are following exactly what the age-old tenets are, right? So branding, to my mind, will always remain important, whatever happens, because that affinity we'll have to have.
No, Sonal, not at all, right? Even the staunchest of mathematics marketeer would agree that they need. I mean, we have. I mean, we're a independent agency, so we have a lot of startups coming to us all the while, right? So they've done all that they could. For example, with the performance marketing stuff. I'm just saying it's not the only magic. The magic of storytelling is not the only magic that's available to people. The maths, right? So the Two Brothers things that you're talking about, they own your first party data. They own your algorithms.
Exactly.
It's easier for them to come bring the store to you rather than you to remember when you go to the store, yeah, Two Brothers Lane.
I agree.
Yeah.
So that fight is happening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Since your question was about the state of the industry,
Yeah.
and most of the answers led to IO. I would say AIYO. Yeah, that is the state of the industry, right? Absolutely on point on that. And last year also we discussed this. So without HI, which is human intelligence, which is what we believe and all of us possess and can use that to our advantage, AI is nothing. AI will only solve a mediocrity is the word. Mediocrity will be democratized. But the specialist skills, the craftsmen in all of us, the craftsmen in creative people, the craft in creative people will always be one level above because it entirely depends on prompt engineering. Only if the HI gives you the
Sure.
right prompt will the outcome, not just the output, the outcome be of any form of intelligence.
Okay, gentlemen, I just want to bring you guys back to reality.
Next question.
Yeah. I just want to, I mean, it's great what's going to happen. AI, HI, who's going to win? You'll be more valuable. You'll be on the top of the pyramid. We'll wait and see. What's the current state of the industry? Are you guys making money?
Sure.
To both.
Because the
Yeah.
industry has different agencies price themselves differently. So I think those of us who've gone into an output-based pricing instead of a man-hour cost-based pricing, which has been it's been a recent shift amongst some shops, including ours. I think that we have generally felt has been an objectively better way to price ourselves overall, and it's been kind of at the heart of our growth as such. With everything that's kind of coming in, I'm not going back to the previous topic, but with all of that in mind as well, I think the shift outside time-based pricing is now, that's like written. The writing is on the wall that kind of pricing is not optimized for the future at all. I think somebody at GoaFest, in fact, spoke about it. Someone from the client side spoke about why man-hour-based pricing is no longer relevant to them. So that's probably, I mean, it's a shift that started off late. I see in the next few years that's just going to accelerate more and more. How many large agencies are able to fully shift that, considering this is a system that's been in the work for a long time, is going to be interesting to see. But
Yeah, I think I can talk about famous growing. Yes, we are growing 20-25%. We are growing because we are independent. We are charging a person who's going to work on your brand, not some foreign brand, and I'm working with that brand, and is a system charging you money. So when we go for meeting, we say, I am going to work on your brand. I'm going to charge 20-30% premium. People are accepting it because they know who is going to work with. your brand. So till the minute is an individual taking accountability, we can ask. And
So if he is doing so well, you're also doing a 30%. Enormous will say, मैं तो 40% ज़्यादा premium ले रहा हूँ. I'm sure VML will say, I'm a large scale. I'm saying 100%. Come on, guys, let's get real. Is the money really increasing in the advertising world?
I'll answer it another way.
Yeah.
I don't think it's about a particular agency or my agency or whatever. And if the agencies have to do well, and I would say the larger agencies, they have to get creative people into the room and have them sit on both sides of the equation rather than just these are the targets for creative awards and this and that and the other. Get them. They're very good businessmen. Creative people are very good businessmen. They have to get them into the room and get them to steer the agency in a way that they have ownership of.
Does
the
anybody
outcomes.
have a rebuttal?
No, I've been doing it. We've been doing it from the time from the 90s, right?
Right.
Really, I've always believed, I've said it vociferously, that it's really, really important for any creative person, junior, senior, whatever project or business he's working on, he or she is working on, has to understand the business side of it.
100%.
Like how the other guy's life is getting affected.
Again, I am not understanding. Bobby, if you can answer this for me.
So,
Is the
I'll tell you
the advertising agency business doing well? Is it
See,
growing?
I
Please.
think, as PG talked about, and I built on that. I think the billing system is fundamentally broken. It was broken from the time the big global networks started it. They wanted predictability of revenue, so they said we'll move away from 15% agency commission to man hours, right? Like lawyers do.
Sir, if you could confirm this story. So legend goes, this started in the Texas branch of Ogilvy to find a new way to work with Shell. And it started out as something that David Ogilvy did for one account, and then people were like,
No,
hey,
no,
this seems
they
like a good
started
idea.
with WPP taking over things after WPP, not with David Ogilvy.
Or maybe it
These-
started and died down there.
There.
It's like that last scene of Oppenheimer where he says, "Oh, we thought we do one thing, but then we burned the whole world down." So
I think fundamentally, advertising industry needs to get out of the mindset that it's in the service industry and get into the mindset that you are in the product making industry. You're makers of things, and that what you sell is what you make. That making is strategic thinking. It is the expression of that strategic thinking. It is the creative technologies. It is the creative storytelling. Whatever else that may come out of it, and that is what we need to start pricing for, and not for freaking man hours. तेरा junior copywriter का कितना पैसा होता है, तेरे overhead 30%. Oh no, it has to be 25%. So that's rubbish. I was going to use a stronger word.
so we're employee owned as an agency, and I think that has been very crucial to us thinking about pricing in the way that we do. Because if we believe that if we are not risk averse, we can see this industry as something where wonderful long-term wealth can be created for anyone who's in the journey with us. And I think that kind of a mindset is required to actually see advertising as something that in the long term can create wonderful wealth.
When you said you moved to output-based fee, explain that to me. Give me an example. What do you mean by output-based? Are you suggesting that how well the product does in the market in terms of sales will be dependent on the amount you're receiving?
That is outcome based.
It's
Outcome-based.
It's outcome-based. No, we're saying for this kind of knowing that this is the kind of work involved, for this kind of a client, this is how much we'd like to charge.
Okay.
So what they make is what they price.
Fixed.
You use.
No, it has no.
You're
it does
saying
not
not-
have anything.
yeah,
no,
true.
because I mean, look at it this way, right? I mean, I would argue that the reason that we have been disincentivized to be more efficient as an industry is because we charge by time. I always say this to writers who freelance. They're like, you can't complain about lack of brevity in writing if you charge per word.
Yes.
So we've never been incentivized to be efficient because we charge by time. But if we charge basis the output, then it is the value of that service and that scope of work which is getting charged, not how much time we're spending on it. And now with with more and more AI coming in, we are further disincentivized to spend more time on a single job.
How you justify the value? Just like how? I want
I think that's
50%.
kind of how, I mean, all of us, we know we're from agencies, but each of us are from agency brands. Each of our agencies, it's a brand by itself, right? So how does a brand think of pricing a product? It keeps a bunch of market conditions in place, then it keeps a particular profitability in place, so on and so forth. It's the same kind of pricing that we adopt basis how much value we think we have thus far created in the market, basis the work that we've done and whatever we kind of foresee.
Senthil, as VML, a global behemoth, right? How are you looking at pricing? Are you in agreement with the independents?
So I'm in agreement with all of them because they run their own businesses, all of them. And so while I'm just creative head of an organization with different forces, at work, and from a state of industry perspective, if I were to put it in one line, maybe the money is good. Maybe some clients are spending more money, and therefore some brands are doing well. Therefore, some agencies are doing better. But if you look at it from the number of ideas that you see out there, which you really say wow to, or think that if you look at the state of the industry purely on the number of ideas, I don't think we have many out there, especially this year and even in the last couple of years. I think post-COVID, there's been a sort of slowdown in terms of the brilliance that what you usually see.
Senthil, industry is missing you, Senthil.
मैं काम नहीं कर रहा हूं तो बोल रहा है मर गया
We'll delve into the creative output cumulatively of the industry. But is, for instance, VML looking at moving away from man hours into, let's say, an output kind of oriented remuneration?
Not yet. I don't think so. What we have is different models for different clients. Some of them are still on the commission basis. Some of them are on manner basis. So some where there is a long-term partnership like Ford, which is a global business, they do have outcome based. So basically, in some markets, basically the number of cars that you sell, and therefore you're remunerated equally and stuff like that. So there are different models at play in different markets. So there won't be like an answer that this is the only approach that we are.
It's really hard for the networks to change, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately they want predictability of revenue so that it reflects. Because the CEO has to go back to the stock market and report this thing. So the moment you go back to, let's say, a product or outcome driven and this thing, you may not always have predictability of revenue. Okay, so it's hard.
No, but the problem is that, as PG very correctly said, that this, in the age of AI, this man hours is going to die. And if it's going to die, then I think agencies have to, even big agencies, right, have to prepare themselves of a different kind of charging model, which is based on the quality of output, of what you bring to the table, how big an idea are you creating. This whole thing about how loved a brand you are able to create, so that how many people out there are buying your brand. That quality of output, that success, once the client starts to see, on the basis of that you charge.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I think you'll have to move to that, because if technology is making everything happen faster, then timers, that whole notion just doesn't make sense.
We have been in business for about 11 and a half years. Not for 11 hours out of those 11 and a half years have we ever charged on time cost. We have never charged on time cost because it doesn't make sense to us. We were very clear. PG, you're absolutely right? So as we work on the kind of brands that we do, the agency brand that we run either in a network or as an independent is the brand that we are the brand managers of as well.
True.
Right? And the brands keep on telling us that we must premiumize. And how does a brand premiumize? Let's say a brand XYZ gives you better experience, better deliveries, and a consistent history of it. You get to a place where you're able to charge a premium. Gucci is very well crafted, fantastic, so you get the kind of price that you do. We have never charged for time cost even for a single day.
Ultimately, even big agencies should move to that.
Yeah.
Will have to move to that.
We've never had
As an independent
ever.
person, or as a super independent person, me, who has got no overheads, the only person I pay is HR, which is my cat. Yeah. Right. So my charges when a client comes to me is the what are the stakes in that job? Is it a very high stakes job? So depending on the time that I'm spending on it, with my experience, I charge a certain whatever amount of money. But even that, how important that job is for the client, where all will it go? Everything then depends on that.
No, but I just want to move into, let's say, creative output of the industry. I know Enormous is doing a fantastic job, Talent is doing a fantastic job, and Famous is doing a fantastic job. So let's put your individual wins, and your great work aside for a moment, and let's talk about what Senthil talked about, that are we seeing sheer brilliance of creativity in an already, using your world, visually polluted world? Is the Indian, I'm only talking about India, not global, because we are at GoaFest. Is the Indian advertising creative world being able to put out brilliant work with all the aids that you just talked about? Are we there, or is our work regressing?
So, Sonali, I tell you a funny story.
Yeah.
My kid is 13-year-old. 2-3 months ago, I went to New York and sitting in Times Square. And he and me late night watching all the billboards. And I asked my kid, what do you think about this? Because when I live in New York, those having your ad coming on in Times Square is a big deal. He just looked at it and said, what? And I said, this not make you fascinated? He said, Dad, is a bunch of ads. And I said, what do you mean? He said, look at what's going on my phone. So I think we as the independent agencies or any company, we have to update it or upgrade it. What's happening right now? If you go to the same model, then it's going to be same result. But I think we have to understand, start accepting few things that we have to change. Being an independent, we get a chance, Sonali, to say whatever we want, whatever we can do. Cost wise, one client come to me and I like the client, I can don't charge anything.
And again, you're talking about yourself.
No, in general, independent agents, not me. We all of us have that liberty.
I think we will always have a biased take to this question.
Why do you say that?
Because when we are creators, not consumers, we create the work, right? So I think there's a wonderful quote. Art critics will talk about cubism, postmodernism, and so on. Artists talk about where to get cheap turpentine. The thing in front of us, to do a very good job in anything that is in front of us, that's what should take up 99% of our brain time, and not about how the industry is doing. We are the industry, we are part of the industry.
Of course.
The better work that we do, slowly, it'll this thing.
Time for definitive answers, okay?
Yeah, please.
So I used to be in Calcutta back in the day, way back. I mean, I'll give away my age if I tell you that. I came to Delhi. I mean, I had to ship there. My family was there. And I wanted to figure out a place where I could do good work. Guess what? In all of Delhi, there was only one agency which was doing great work, which was Ogilvy. So Bobby had just done the Kelvinator, the coolest one, the dentures, right? You guys had done the Asian Paints, the stuff that you're doing. Pure Delhi mein sirf ek agency thi, which was doing great work, and some work would come out here and there from other places also. Now you see the democratization of it. Even in the little panel out here, we have 4 agencies at least which are doing pretty good work, and it's picking up gongs out here. And if you widen the horizon, let's say a Fundamental is doing very good work, a Together is doing very good work, a Leo Burnett is doing very good work. There is such a huge democratization of very good work. The problem with looking back in the mirror is that objects become smaller, so you cherry pick and you see, अरे यार ये कितना अच्छा हो रहा था, but बहुत सारा गोबर भी था, right? Yeah, so there is so much good work even now happening. Yeah.
I've got a point of view on that. When I saw his Nike work, which sometime back, it was some Nike work that is some time back. PGs, when I see that off and on that Britannia, right? Your that
Jeera.
Chinese with the Indian twist, yeah, or Jeera, right? There's a certain light of touch, which takes me back to the 90s, right? Which I thought was getting lost with big agencies, maybe because they had become too big. And from these two big agencies, very big agencies, these smaller agencies are cropping up now, right? Which, as you named some of them, right? And these pockets are creating some good work. I'm not saying that big agencies are not creating good work; they are, but it had lessened. Come ho gaya. That light of touch of going back to the basics. If you look at Britannia work, your Lahore Jira work, some of the work you've done. It's going back to the basics of having an idea, enjoyable, entertaining, and communicating.
What do you think,
So
Senthil?
that
What do you think?
if it continues to happen more and more,
Shabashi ho rahi hai.
that's optimism.
I just want to say one thing,
Yeah,
right?
please.
I think we are also heavily romanticized by the past, right?
Yeah.
Where we remember and glorify all this seminal work that lives in public consciousness.
Correct.
It's become harder and harder to create that because the work itself is like culture. It is ephemeral. It lasts only for a long time, right? Asli Swaz Zindagi Ka, that commercial played for years.
True.
Name one commercial today that plays for years. So it doesn't get.
Is that the problem?
No, so I'm coming to
Okay.
this thing. So when it comes to creating seminal work, the task has become that much harder.
Sure.
The other thing that has happened, I think some of the best work has become pretty damn good, right? It's the average that has dropped. It's the average work that sucks more than usual.
Okay.
Because a lot of the craft is just, I don't know, who flushed it down the toilet? Right? It's gone. And that's where I think AI is going to gobble up all of these average things.
So collectively, when you look at it, like we discussed before, the state of the industry is, I don't think it's good. I think it's from a creative, just a creative standpoint, the brilliance has gone. But the independent agencies are probably doing those individual pieces, right? Like Sonal also pointed out, that is actually rising above the average, which is what even Bobby is saying, right? Overall, are we all celebrating and saying that what a fantastic bunch of agencies or bunch of creative people we are, celebrating the fact that here are 10 ideas this year that is blowing the whole world away and everybody's looking at us and saying that why can't we do work like that? No. I don't think. In fact, while judging the film jury, and tomorrow there is the jury session, they asked, the specific question was, what is the way forward? The Grand Prix is about the way forward. My answer to that is the Grand Prix this year is probably looking in the mirror, is looking backward, inspired by things that we have all seen and enjoyed in the past, which is what Bobby, you're also saying, Sonal, you're also saying. And in the past, there have been so much brilliance, I think. I don't think we are seeing that, not just from big agencies or across the board. I think there's still a long way to go to celebrate brilliance and actually, have collectively say that the agency is like doing well and pat us. We are not patting ourselves on the back. I don't think that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Lately, when you see some of these pieces coming out, very focused, single-minded idea, and then done in an entertaining way, that gives you hope, right? I'm very hopeful from that point of view. But that part I'll still come back to, which is brand managers and clients have to realize that there is a certain amount of money. They can't keep saving money, keep asking for things faster and cheaper.
Yeah.
Because brand building is really important, whichever way you look at it. Whether every performance marketing ad, right? Whatever this Meta or Google tells you, every performance marketing ad is a piece of your brand.
Yeah.
It has to follow the same brand tenets that your big ad is following.
Yeah.
Same tonality it has to follow. But that is not happening, and that is the dangerous part.
And they're willing to,
That is not happening.
compromise. The clients are willing to compromise because they're getting it cheaper.
Sure.
Many of those
Yes,
clients
yes,
are saying,
yes.
when you have like a big production coming in, they ask for what is the, if AI were to do it. In my case, I'm saying the brands I work on, at least 3 clients have asked for a AI costing of a proper film which needs craft, which needs casting, which needs production. They're saying, can you do this in AI? Because I think it'll be lower, it'll be cheaper. So the assumption is absolutely wrong, because AI into film is not yet there. Globally, nobody has succeeded in with making a fantastic film on it.
Brand managers and the stewards of brands want to build their brand and don't want it to become a commodity, are saying many aspects of my brand's engagement will be commoditized. Performance marketing is a tool that's available to any sweet shop around the corner, let alone Unilever and P&G.
Sure. Yeah.
If you do commoditized work across it, you'll get commoditized results.
I just want to now turn the conversation to my last leg, which I'm hoping people will have different views, is what is the role of the Chief Creative Officer in this extremely over complex landscape with all this new tech?
I've always believed that there are actually just two jobs in the creative department, which is a creative person and a creative director. Those are actually the only two jobs. There is someone who is like who's doing the work, and there's someone who's overseeing that work and perfecting it. We can give it different designations, we can give it different titles, but in your mind, you are the biggest promotion you achieve in terms of the actual job is creative director, right? So CCO is who is she or he is a creative director. So,
So
at that
I will
core of
say,
it, the job
yeah, I
stays.
agree with him. But I will say today's chief creative officer is not about creative. He is a creative in numbers also, creative in the relationship also, creative in the taking the entire system with you. But more important, the guy who have a vision, a plan, and taking the entire system with
That's
you.
a lot thrown in together.
No, it's normally otherwise all the classic chief creative officers are owner of the agencies. Oh, today we have a name of the companies, but old days BBDO are 4 people, DDB are 3 people, BBH are 3 people. It's always individually leadership driven companies. So I think chief creative officer is nothing else than good leader. Just the title is different.
What about men here?
To me, I think a lot of people talk about chief creative officer or even creative directors, and I agree with PG. This is just a glorified title of creative director, right? Uh, they say it's about making the work better. I disagree with that fundamentally. It's about making your people better.
Yes.
So they are ready for whatever is in front of them and ready for whatever is ahead of them, right? And that is your job. Because if you make your people better, the work will automatically become better. It's also to create a culture in which fearless creativity thrives.
Yeah.
And to sometimes be the shield, catches all the arrows that comes against you.
VML?
All my life I've believed that the role of a chief creative officer is at multiple levels, right? And that is so true today, because earlier it was only reactive, reacting to a brief, proactive, thinking of an idea yourself and going and pitching it to different clients until it gets sold. Today the third word is adaptive. So you have to adapt to whatever's surrounding you, whatever's thrown at you, and you have to still hit it out of the park. Either way, you have to hit it out of the park. So you're a talent scout to begin with, you're a team player, and then you're the playing captain, and sometimes you're the coach, because you have to look at the next level of people who are going to generate the ideas and then coach all of it and craft everything to bring it up to a certain level and therefore hit it out of the park, right?
And it's happening.
It's happening. It's happening in the place I work and in my team, right? Even AI. When I was studying engineering, artificial intelligence was only robotics. It was nothing but robotics, right? I'm talking 20 years ago. But today it is adaptive. It is adapted itself to become bots which actually solve problems, give you solutions, dig up data, source mine data, and throw something at you, vomit solutions at you. So it is adapting to today's day and age, right? It is growing, and that is what generative AI is, right? It's generating on its own. It's actually generating in the next level or the next things, kind of solutions it can serve to.
Sonal?
There was a time when the creative product was the creativity was the product of any agency, which it should be. Everything else should revolve around that.
Correct.
Because through creativity, you build a brand, that brand, or you sell a product through creativity, and that brings in the business and that brings in the money. At some point in time, big agencies, multinational agencies, at the time of possibly listing and all that, started to chase other avenues of growth. So they started essentially to chase money. What was earlier chasing creativity, great solutions, which was bringing money, you started chasing money. And therefore came this becoming consulting partners to a client, becoming transformational partners to a client. A whole lot of these things started to evolve. As a result, the chief creative officer's role obviously got diminished because the thing was getting a little scattered. The focus was getting scattered. It was not that the entire agencies was serving the cause of creativity. And CCO was supreme in the way the person was paid, respected, supported, encouraged. Everything is behind it, right? Because that's what it was. And that should come back and has to come back. And that's when you start to see these independent agencies again brought in by creative people, right? That creativity, if you are saying that we are an advertising industry, advertising agency, and communication, creative communication is our product, then creativity and CCO has to be at the top. Has to be at the top in the sense, has to in a way dictate rule and all that. The other thing that has happened because of this scattering of things, scattering focus, even creative CCOs are not getting enough time. So one very, very important part of a CCO's life was the outside the office, which was offsites, culture building, as Bobby also mentioned, offsites, training, thinking of training for the people, making them better. I'm just wondering how much time the current CCOs have to do that. Which
There is
such
no
a,
time nor budget.
Such a big
There's no time nor budget.
I'm saying
No
time-
budget, yeah.
I'm
No
saying
budget.
I'm saying time and budget to have 2 offsites in a year. You know, that has to come back. Otherwise, there's no hope. There's no hope at all.
Yeah,
One
Santak,
more
to be
thing.
perfectly honest, when do you look at work between meetings? No,
Absolutely.
most of those
Or
meetings
late
are
at night. When
late at
something is
night,
like somebody's calling you 10 times, like, have you seen
and most of those meetings are perfectly meaningless.
यार एक और so agree obviously the spirit of an agency or even like products, right? So you had Chanel and Karl Lagerfeld came in there, languishing kind of a brand. Karl Lagerfeld completely transformed it. So of course the spirit, the abhi aap koi agency also if you take, you will see there is a kind of a pattern in the kind of work that is coming out of a certain agency, and so obviously the spirit of the CCO. There is a very important part of it which we may be overlooking, may be very important for the younger people and from the agency perspective. And I'll quote Sadbir, my very good friend and friend to a lot of us. He said something long back when we were not CCOs, when we used to look at you and यार ये CCO कौन होता है? तो he said something really like वो quotable quotes ही बोलता है, यार CCO वो होता है जो CCO जैसा लगता है. I thought it was absolutely outstanding. So, creative essentially is an unfamiliar kind of a territory, especially for the clients. He's not seen what is happening at Cannes. He's not seen what is happening in GoaFest. When there is a Piyush Pandey sitting out there and he's putting forth an idea which looks, unfamiliar kind of a terrain, makes your palms sweat. The fact that there is a Piyush Pandey sitting there, there is a Sonal or a Bobby, it just makes him, yaar, सोनाल जी बोल रहे हैं, झूठ थोड़ी बोल रही है.
I think he was mentioning Piyush, like till the you know that Piyush still wrote, like he kept writing, right? I mean, and all of you, they still in touch with your craft, no matter what their designation is and however. I think, and that is kind of the soul of the whole thing, right? Like we can't. Of course, the CCO job comes with a lot of things outside your own writing and your own designing and your own.
You know, PG, who you remind me of in a panel? Because I have done a panel with almost everybody in the advertising industry, creative and CEOs. But you are following one particular path.
Please enlighten.
Josie
me.
Paul.
Very flat.
Big
Thank you.
shoes, big shoes.
So we are missing all the legends. Huh? Underlining thing. We are missing Piyush. We are missing Josie.
get some-
We are missing Bobby. We are missing Sonal.
No, because Josie has a wonderful way of turning the question into some philosophical answer. You know? Yeah.
That doesn't mean that by saying Josie Paul, she's put a cap on you.
Like, yes. I mean, I fully understand that the CCO job is much more than creativity, and it's more about that. But the CCOs who we respect and who we love and who think are amazing, who are most likely to be able to do the rest of the job really well, are those people who are fantastic at their own craft and still keep practicing their craft and would rather do that than the rest of it. Right? So
I remember when I started my career, Sonal was a creative head in Ogilvy. One girl came out and said, every time I go to Sonal's cabin, I come out, my problem is solved. So I think today, how many CCOs that can somebody enter the room and say, I will solve it. Tell me what is the problem. So I think that role, I felt who solution for not only creativity but financial, that company's growth, where we company growth, people relationship, image, long-term investment, vision. I think many things that one person more than a CEO.
Yeah,
So I think he's actually the core. He's the chef of the restaurant.
Sure,
More than a manager.
Sure. Well, I think on that note, this has been a long conversation, but I urge the audience and the advertising industry in particular to actually go through this conversation as we have stalwarts sitting here. Some points have been, taken a bit lightly and not answered seriously, but a lot of answers have actually come out and a lot of internalization needs to happen. So I hope you've enjoyed this conversation as much as I've enjoyed actually hearing it. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.